Wanna go to the zoo?
The zoo?
Everyone talks about how Tony died, but nobody's paying attention to the real tragedy, the unborn children lost in the shadows. Welcome to Sopranos Breakdown. I'm Matthew. Together we'll dive deep into the world of Tony, Carmela, and the rest of the crew, uncovering hidden details and exploring the deeper meanings behind every episode. If you love The Sopranos, do me a favor. Smash that like button so more fans can find this content. All right, let's get started.
Wanna go to the zoo?
The zoo?
Try to get there once a year.
Yeah, we'll go.
I'll call you.
In The Sopranos Season 3, Episode 9, The Telltale Musadel, Tony and Gloria have sex at the zoo. In a subtle detail, the word nesting appears on the window beside them, possibly hinting at impending pregnancy. This seemingly minor visual cue gains significance when connected to later events in Season 4, Episode 9, Everybody Hurts, where Carmela informs Tony, accidentally, that Gloria has taken her own life. The subtext is enriched by Carmela's earlier aversion to out-of-wedlock pregnancies, which she expressed in Season 2, when Christopher was shot. The deeper implication comes through a dream sequence in Everybody Hurts, in which Gloria reappears during a dinner with Tony. In this dream, she gestures first to her scarf, symbolizing her suicide method, and then to her lower abdomen, saying, "Most importantly, this." The implication is that she was pregnant with Tony's child at the time of her death. This is reinforced when an oven timer rings immediately after, prompting Gloria to open the oven to a visceral, coagulated sound. Tony then looks upward as if in recognition of some deeper meaning, a symbolic water-breaking moment. The oven's sound and imagery, along with the surrounding symbolism, suggest a child lost along with Gloria.
That's my lava cookies for the bake sale. Would you like a couple for your coffee, Bri?
Thanks, but I gotta get back. Your client one.
Later in the same episode, as Carmela prepares cookies for a bake sale, another oven timer rings during a conversation about trust. Tony momentarily freezes, appearing visibly affected. This moment ties back to the dream, suggesting his subconscious has processed what the dream represented, the loss of both Gloria and their unborn child. In Season 6A's Mr. and Mrs. John Sacrimoni request,
What I'd give to have a grandchild. Terry and her husband are trying again, but...
Speaking of grandkids, I am just sick about Jackie and Meadow.
Tony expresses that having grandchildren, through Meadow and AJ, is what matters most to him. He shares this sentiment with Carmela during a moment of physical and emotional vulnerability, and she responds with quiet support. Meadow walks away during this exchange, seemingly tired of the familial expectations, but the weight of Tony's desire is made clear. By the final episode, Made in America, Tony and Meadow have their last dinner together. Meadow begins the conversation with,
To what do I owe this chance to go sake bombing?
"To what do I owe this pleasure? Sake bombing?" While sake bombing refers to a drink, the phrase also carries a symbolic connotation, dropping a bomb. This suggests that Meadow is about to deliver life-changing news, possibly that she is pregnant. During the meal, sake, cups are present, but Meadow does not take a drink. Though subtle, this abstention may imply pregnancy. Later, Carmela casually notes that Meadow is going to be late. Meadow had told her she was switching birth control, a statement that appears inconsistent with the circumstances. One does not switch birth control methods because of a confirmed pregnancy. However, in many cases, routine tests or consultations related to birth control changes may incidentally confirm a pregnancy, explaining the comment. The implication is that Meadow planned to inform Tony that night that she was pregnant. However, before she can do so, Tony is killed, suddenly, violently, and unaware of the future he had longed for. His death mirrors that of Phil Leotardo, swift, public, and witnessed by family. The thematic symmetry is poignant. Tony, like Gloria, loses the chance to experience fatherhood or grandfatherhood again. this time through an act of violence rather than self-destruction. The parallels between Gloria and Meadow are striking. Both women are tied to Tony by intimate relationships. Both are positioned as potentially pregnant, and both pregnancies are connected to moments of irrevocable loss. Gloria's child is lost to suicide. Meadow's revelation is interrupted by murder. These storylines, woven across seasons, reflect Tony's ultimate failure to secure the future he desperately wants, a tragic symmetry that underscores the show's meditations on legacy, consequence, and the cost of violence. Everyone acts like Tony didn't kill Ralph, but here's the brutal truth no one in the mob wants to admit, not even Christopher. Picture it.
He was still moaning. He died almost right away. The ambulance wouldn't have helped him anyway.
Chris shows up at Ralph's house and Tony's standing there, face bruised, eyes red from roach spray, shirt soaked in blood, and says, "I found him like this." Seriously? That's the story? Whoever did this is to blame. Chris doesn't even pretend to buy it. Not really. And yet, a few scenes later, Tony shifts the tale slightly, says Ralph was near death when he arrived.
Paulie was in Newport's all day, I know that for a fact.
Good.
And Chris just deadpans. "Well, I know it wasn't Paulie. He was in New Paltz all day." Like, what are we even doing here? Chris knows. Tony knows Chris knows. But no one says anything because in that world, truth is dangerous. This is the mob. Everyone lies, especially when the truth is obvious.
She slipped. They were arguing at him. She fell.
It's the same thing when Ralphie killed Tracy. "She slipped and fell," he says. Tony asks, "That's your story?" Ralph shrugs. "Yeah, and I'm sticking to it." As if Tracy just slipped and fell off a horse into a punch. And later, when Carmine calls Tony and says, "I didn't say nothing," you know exactly what he's saying. You could practically smell the egg salad and hear the gherkins crunching through the phone. "Didn't say nothing" might as well be mob code for "I said exactly what I meant." This is the language of that world. Sarcasm, half-truths, feigned ignorance, deniability dressed up in cheap cologne. Tony tells Chris a story, not because he thinks Chris believes it, but because they need a story. And Chris doesn't call him out, not because he's convinced, but because acknowledging the truth means living with it. Saying it out loud makes it real, makes you complicit. And in that world, not knowing is a survival strategy.
Paulie was in Newport's all day, I know that for a fact.
Good.
Even when Chris says later, Paulie was out of town, it's not about alibis, it's code. We both know it wasn't Paulie, so don't expect me to go along with that version of events. He's not clarifying. He's setting a boundary. He's saying, "I'll help you move the body, but don't insult my intelligence." By season 6, he basically admits it, half ranting about Ralph and Adriana right before shooting that writer in the face. Of course he knew. Everyone did. They just never said it.
Go. Thought Mitchie's farmers ought to wrap a fucking slot spider.
Tony could have called anyone else to help clean up Ralph, but he called Christopher. Why? Because Chris was family, high on heroin, and still loyal enough to carry the weight of the lie, but fogged up enough not to weaponize it. Paulie would have been gossiping by breakfast. Sylvia would have asked too many questions. Chris just rolls with it. Because that's the deal in mob life. You see everything, but you say nothing. It's all plausible deniability and dead-eyed politeness. You build lies like scaffolding around the truth and hope nobody kicks hard enough to knock it over. And yeah, maybe Tony trusted Chris, but only as far as he could throw him. Which is exactly why Chris had to go in the end. A junkie is a liability. One shot of dope, one flip, and suddenly the feds know everything about the horse, the fire, the fight, the blood on Tony's shirt. So no, Tony didn't really think Chris believed the story. He just needed him to pretend he did. That's the rule. That's the job. That's the story. Now shut up and help me move him. Forget what Syl says. Tony Soprano's problem isn't pride. Here's the deadly sin that actually runs his whole life.
7 deadly sins, and yours is pride. All due respect, you got no fucking idea what it's like to be number one.
7 deadly sins and yours is pride, Syl declares to Tony in the Bing's office. Sure, pride fits if you squint really hard. But let's be honest, Tony's got all 7 sins wrapped up tighter than his gabagool stash. So, just for kicks, let's rank 7 scenes that scream each of Tony's deadly sins. Quick refresher: pride, envy, gluttony, wrath, sloth, lust, and greed. Classic Tony.
Let me ask you something.
Remember when he's packing his bags, and first thing he grabs is all the gabagool from the fridge? Or when he's basically having a heart attack over sushi? Yeah, that's gluttony in full force. Plus, his whole Season 6 weight gain saga. The man's appetite is out of control, and he's got zero interest in self-restraint. That sushi joint he hits solo, joking it's on his mind even during sex? Pure Tony avoidance tactics.
Sorry I had to go out to Vegas when I did.
Once you explained you had to take care of Christopher's business interests, God knows, Kelly will need the money.
Sleeping with Christopher's Vegas Gumar right after Chrissy dies. Zero emotional connection, just Tony's way of getting his rocks off and sticking it to a dead rival. Definitely less love story, and more final humiliation. Also driving around with Adriana in the middle of the night to score coke, ignoring all the red flags. Lust and impulse all the way.
Sacre bleu, where is me mama?
The sacre bleu, where's my mama tantrum when Janice's handling of drama outshines him. So petty, and plenty of his dealings with Tony B and Chris drip with jealousy. But that scene really nails it.
You alright?
He's broken, the bone's coming through.
I'll give you a fucking bone, you prick! Where's my fucking money?
Beating up Georgie repeatedly might get played for laughs, but it's straight-up cruelty. Tony just loves smashing someone who can't fight back. No reason needed. Also, let's not forget the way he casually deals with anyone who crosses him. Brutal and merciless.
I only bet 10.
But you won.
What did I say? What did I tell you? It's a sure thing.
You talk about this crap like it's science, Tony.
I lost a lot of fucking money.
Where do you even start? It's basically his default mode, especially in later seasons. Take Chasing It, where he toys with giving Vito's widow money to move, then tosses it all away on a dumb bet, and loses. He chases money like an animal, no matter who gets hurt or that it doesn't even benefit him.
He broke your balls about the fight, didn't he?
No, he didn't.
Bobby, where are you going?
Business, man.
Now?
Yeah.
This one's tricky, but look at how Tony treats Bobby after Bobby gets attacked. Bobby's out there grinding for Tony's cause, and Tony's basically mocking him for it. He's got zero respect for loyalty or effort unless it benefits him immediately. Plus, Tony's general laziness, sleeping in late, coasting on his mob inheritance, is classic sloth.
She's not there. Probably she had some Brighton bitch. She blames you for Ronnie Zelma, but he was belt.
The ultimate sin for Tony. Remember when he attacked Assemblyman Zellman just because he found out the guy was dating Arena? It wasn't just about jealousy, it was a full-on bullying power move to prove his manhood. He wrecked both their professional and personal lives just to feed his fragile ego. Bottom line, Tony's a walking, talking embodiment of the 7 deadly sins. Syl might have called out pride, because it sounds slightly better. Pride can be spun as taking pride in your work, right? But Tony? He's greed, wrath, envy, lust, gluttony, sloth, and pride all rolled into one hot mess. And honestly, who can blame him? If you had that much chaos and baggage, maybe you'd wolf down sushi too. People love blaming Meadow for Vito's death. But what if she was actually the one who saved her boyfriend's life? Here's the truth nobody talks about. Was it poetic justice that Meadow ended up sealing Vito's fate? Probably. Meadow's ex-boyfriend, Jackie Jr., was killed by Vito. Meadow even argued with Jackie's sister, who was in denial that it was one of their father's men behind the hit. Fast forward, and Meadow's current boyfriend, Finn, is being threatened by Vito. So she tells Tony.
He is possibly gay.
Finn saw him giving some guy a blowjob.
What? You gotta hear what Meadow just told us.
Mom!
The cat's out of the bag, Meadow.
People complain about Meadow for spilling the beans on Vito, but honestly, she was completely justified. She should have just punched Vito's lights out instead. This whole situation is oddly funny. Meadow could have taken ecstasy, but she didn't. She doesn't want any scrub messing with her. Then she ends up scrubbing floors at Livia's. Talk about poetic justice. Well, maybe not poetic or cinematic, but definitely ironic. Vito had no emotional attachment to killing Jackie Jr. He was just a guy doing a job. The truly cinematic moment is Phil coming out of the closet to kill Vito. Psych 101 tells us humans often project their hidden selves onto others, acting out internal conflicts. That's the real drama.
He was killed by some fat fucking see-through socks. Take your pick, they all look alike.
So Matt, was he dealing while you guys were dating?
Hey, Mackenzie, why don't you shut your fucking mouth?
I was just asking.
Oh, please.
Meadow described the killer as a fat fuck in see-through socks. Take your pick, they all look alike. She argued it was drug dealers behind the murder. But really, she was horrified that Jackie Jr.'s sister would say such things in front of an outsider. Meadow wrestles with the reality of the family business, caught in cognitive dissonance. Sometimes she knows it was an inside job, other times she denies it. For Carmela, it's different. She signed up for this life. Meadow did not. That makes Meadow's confusion somewhat understandable, despite her insufferable bleeding heart liberalism. When accusations flew, people quickly jumped to blame outsiders, like the two black guys theory, which was nonsense. Family loyalty won out, even if it meant covering up the truth in front of outsiders. Poor Uncle Phil couldn't catch a break. First they tried to drown him, then worse. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Detrolio can't hang with the common folk.
He came on to me, all right? Either that or he wants to kill me.
Meadow's decision to expose Vito likely stemmed from Vito threatening Finn. She didn't know for sure Vito killed Jackie Jr., but she was protecting the guy she cared about. Meadow is intuitive, but not omniscient. Did she know Vito threatened Finn? She sensed something was wrong from Finn's behavior, even if she didn't have all the details. By the time Meadow spilled the beans, Vito was already a dead man walking. The cat was out of the bag. They say The Sopranos is the gold standard of realism in mob shows. But here's the brutal truth they don't want you to notice about one of its most infamous scenes.
Can't blame Pete for being pissed. You whacked this kid. You should have waited for me,
It's
Christopher.
the last time I show any fucking initiative.
Chris, high on skag, out in freezing weather trying to hotwire a front-end loader like it's a toy. No way his shaky, junky fingers could pull that off, especially not in 2 seconds flat. Then he fumbles around like a junkie figuring out the controls. Yet somehow, it gets done. Honestly, how did anyone put up with Ralph even briefly? Top earner with 3 hands? Yeah, right.
If I was to hear, let's say, a murder was to take place, not that I'm saying it would, but if a patient comes to me and tells me a story where someone's going to get hurt.
There are Ralphs everywhere in business. People smile and shake hands on the surface, but behind closed doors, the dirt on their associates is brutal. Being related to a Ralph is no picnic either. Everyone loves him at first. He's the life of the party, bold and funny, but there's no off switch. One minute he's cracking up drunks at a party. The next, he's making a funeral unbearable. Then there's Pork Chop pulling a gun out of a giant fish and killing Chucky Signore in broad daylight. What is he even doing there? Boom, boom, boom. He just shoots him right off the pier. That scene is hard to watch. Richie was ridiculously lucky to stick around after running over Beansy and crippling him. He should have been dead then and there. The transmission slips out of gear. Lucky he didn't get crushed by the car, too. Tony said, "If you want to do it, then do it." Richie was made, Beansy wasn't, crippling the mob boss's friend after being told to leave him alone.
But I told you to back the fuck off, Beansy.
I did. Then I put it in drive.
Oh, you think this is funny? That guy might never walk again.
People die for less. Even Tony realized it was a mistake to keep Richie around. When Feach showed up, Tony said, "Did I learn nothing from Richie April? I gotta nip this in the bud." So Feach got sent back to jail. The money talk is all over the place, especially around the executive game. ZT means $1,000, thanks for that. But why is the accounting so sloppy? Betting way too much for a 7th Street limit bet of $1,200 when you only need $5,000 to sit at the game. What's going on? Tony randomly saying cunnilingus, Furio from Napoli falling for a New Jersey housewife, and Slava not going to war with Jersey. It's an odd mix. Tony wasn't dumb. Furio was definitely out of place. Though it's strange he wasn't dating more women besides the dental hygienist. Regarding Slava and Valeri's disappearance, Tony is shown sleeping around a lot. Yet somehow STDs aren't addressed despite all the activity. Tony makes sure everyone is tested for AIDS. No one has it, apparently.
You didn't make a move in North Jersey without this one up your ass.
I wasn't even born yet.
Please.
Some situations stretch credibility, like Paulie supposedly getting AIDS from eating stuffed quail. And it's unlikely the sanitation secretary got tested before Tony hooked up with her. Many women are attracted to these bald, obese men with the maturity of teenagers. Some are gold diggers or power lusting, but many seem to have primal urges for these immature men. It's strange, but consistent. Not related to criminal justice, but security cameras and swipe cards would be everywhere today. The FBI plants a camera behind Crazy Horse, but the Bing and Satriales should be riddled with hidden cameras and parabolic mics. They sweep for bugs monthly, but eventually a judge would block it, or it would become too costly. Yet simple video tracking of who comes and goes would be invaluable, like modern-day bossware software enforcing office attendance. That might be what Neil Mink meant when he told Tony to insulate yourself from these shenanigans. It makes sense. Adriana's snitching is baffling. She couldn't keep it secret, even if she tried. After she tells the FBI she and Christopher might cooperate, nothing happens before she disappears. Not even bugging her place during all that? Hard to believe. Christopher being high on skag in the freezing cold trying to hotwire a loader isn't believable, but the hotwiring actually happens hours after he shoots up. Enough time to sober up. The Russian escapes Christopher and Paulie with no consequences. Johnny Cakes would never get with Vito. Big Pussy disappears after a boat ride with Tony, Paulie, and Sil. Nobody asks questions. Angie knew exactly what happened and had no reason to go against Tony, which turned out to be a blessing. There's a character nicknamed Drinkwater, yet he's never shown drinking any. That's just sloppy writing.
Whatever happened to Gary Cooper? The strong, silent type. That was an American.
Finally, the idea of a mob boss seeing a shrink is amusing. Then the woman who catches Vito napping fires him. Classic. Yo, if you don't like and subscribe, I swear to God, I'm gonna write a screenplay about your life, and it ain't gonna end pretty. Don't make me call Cleaver too.